So welcome, everyone. We're excited to have you with us today. My name is Susan Douglas. I am the director of the Leadership and Organizational Performance Master's Program. And we have two of our wonderful current students here with us. And we will actually introduce people as you begin talking, just so we can go ahead and get started, if that sounds okay.
Sure.
We're also going to have two alumni join us at around 12:30, so they were able to carve out some time in their lunch break. So I'm looking forward to them being able to jump in and tell you a little bit about how the LOP program has impacted their professional careers and what it has meant to them. And then, so for today, let me see if I can get my computer to do what I want. Welcome. What we'll do is just talk a little bit about our program, just to help everyone understand. I'm sure you've been reading the website and looking at some of the other material that we have coming out. Talk about the program structure, and then I want to talk as least as possible, because I know what's most interesting and helpful to you is to be able to hear from our students and our alumni. So for our program, we have, it's a 36-hour master's program, and typically students take 2 years to complete it. We have 6 required courses and 6 electives. So the wonderful thing about that is we are able to really tailor the content to student interests. And thinking about what the purpose of our program, it really is about leadership and organizational performance writ large. So we have students coming in from an incredibly diverse array of industries and backgrounds, and they have diverse interests in what they want to do next. So our program really helps to kind of bring that intersection of the people and the organizations and bring it together. And we undergird that with a strong foundation in both theory and practice, because we know that just learning about things in a classroom or in an isolated setting isn't really going to help you impact the organizations and the people that you want to impact over the course of your career. So we bring that theory together with lots of opportunities for applied practice. Our faculty represent that same kind of diversity. We have wonderful faculty who teach in our program, and really our students have access to all of the richness that Vanderbilt has to offer, which is pretty huge. So in addition to those 6 required classes and those 6 electives, our students also have a practicum requirement. So typically you come in as a cohort in year 1, take 3 classes together, and then you start taking electives in the spring of that year. In the summer between year 1 and year 2, our students typically use that time to go off and do a wonderful internship. And they're so incredibly varied. We can certainly answer some questions about it, but maybe our students might be better at doing that. And it gives you just a rich opportunity to be able to gain some experience actually applying some of the knowledge and the tools and the skills that you've been learning about in your classes in a guided experience with supervision. After that, because that's done on your own in some organizational setting somewhere in the world, our students come back to school in the fall of their 2nd year, and they take my applied experience class. What that does is really help students to kind of pull it all together, think deeply about that experience, and reflect on it as they think about the information and the materials they've been getting from the classes, the competencies that they're building, and that works toward their capstone experience. So as a master's student, that's one of our highlights, our required pieces. Right now, what that looks like as students, we have our LOP annual symposium, and students present to each other, to people in the community, and our alumni come as well. They're presenting on emerging and innovative areas related to topics within leadership and organizational performance. And then they're also writing a white paper. So who are our LOP students? I am going to actually turn the mic over to them to let them talk about that in a minute. But before I get there, let's talk a little bit about what it means to go to graduate school. Everyone I know who has applied to a program, obviously, some of you already have some graduate school experience, a lot of you don't. So just to give you a better sense of what to expect, all of our LOP classes are at night or on weekends, and we do that purposefully because we have many working professionals in our program, and students want opportunities to be able to apply what they're doing in the work setting. There are other classes at Vanderbilt, of course, that are going to be offered at different times that you might be interested in as well. So for weekend classes, those are typically 3 weekends a semester. For the evening classes, it's going to be 3 hours at a time. There's lots of group work. Students work in teams a lot, and maybe you all can say something about that. Because team-based working in high-performing teams, that's definitely a competency that's important to us. You're expected to engage actively in the classroom from an adult learning perspective. We know that reflection and that engagement is really how you learn. As a professor here, I can tell you that I really enjoy working with my graduate students. The classroom environment is rich, it's vibrant, and it's fun. It's a dynamic interchange. We also expect you to support your points with facts and research. So as you're going through classes, we want you to bring in your expertise and your experience and your questions, and always pair those with a curious mind and really think about what else can you bring in as evidence to support your points and to enlarge them or modify them as you learn more. One of the things that we're most proud of, and we think that really helps our students the most, is what we call micro internships. Many of your classes in the LOP program, you're actually going to work in teams, and you're going to be partnered with real live organizations and work on real issues. So I'm teaching evaluation of organizational effectiveness right now, and I have 3 teams of students. They're partnered with the Country Music Hall of Fame and with large global, one is with a large global organization, another team is with a startup started by one of our very own alumni. And they are helping these working professionals think through issues that are important to decision makers and how can they bring credible evidence to bear to inform those decisions. So these micro internships they're varied. They're going to look different in different classes, but what they really give you is the opportunity to continually inhabit that space as a learner and as a professional. And the higher level thinking that you will engage in your classes and that you will be engaging in as you consider the issues and the tools and the skills that we're talking about in classes will help support you to become that next generation of leaders and problem solvers. All right, I would like to turn the mic over to Liza. Liza, do you want to tell a little bit about yourself? Sure. And then just launch into whatever you think would be helpful for the students on the phone to hear.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So you can see that's me. My name is Liza Ambrose. I'm a first year in the LOP program. So that means I will graduate in the spring of 2020. So I'm currently a graduate assistant in the Peabody Office of Graduate Admissions. And then prior to starting the LOP program this fall, I was in Memphis for the past 7 years. I graduated college in St. Louis, and then I moved to Memphis right after that. I'm actually from the Midwest, but I've kind of clearly bounced all around. So I taught for 3 years. I was a kindergarten teacher and then worked on staff for Teach for America, which is where I was the director of alumni engagement. I was there for 4 years, and then I moved here to start grad school in the fall. So what Susan spoke to in terms of the varied interests of the different students of our cohort, and I'm sure Tyler feels this as well, I think is very accurate. It was actually one of the big reasons that I chose the LOP program, was because there's such flexibility and malleability of what you can do with the degree afterwards. So I have a really strong interest based on my previous experience in nonprofit education, but also in higher education, and how do we look at kind of education equity. So I'm really able to tailor a lot, not just the electives that I take, but the projects that we do in the classes that have a higher education lens on them. And that's different for every student in our cohort, but we're really given a lot of flexibility within boundaries to pursue what's interesting to us. So it's been great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And Tyler, we don't actually have a slide on you. Tyler is one of our students and my graduate assistant. He helped make these slides. Would you mind introducing yourself?
I helped make the slides. I purposely left my slide out. I'm Tyler. I'm a first year. Liza and I are in the same cohort. And I really agree with everything that Liza really said. One of the best parts about the LOP program is that you have such an eclectic group of people that come to the program. I myself was a police officer in California before I came out here. So I bring that background with me, and that's a lens through which I kind of examine the material with which I learn in class. We have people that came from West Point, the military, who are officers in the Army. We have people from education. We have people from nonprofit. We have people that come straight out of the business world. So it's, when you get all of those different minds into a classroom and kind of go over the same material, the value is created in when we share our ideas and how we help each other learn and see things through different perspectives. And that's probably one of my favorite things about the LP program, for sure.
Thank you. So I'm curious, maybe you one or both of you can answer this. I mean, if somebody's out there trying to sort of choose between some different opportunities, what advice would you give them?
I knew you were going to give that question to me first. I knew I would get that. So I think it's important to keep in mind, like, what's most important to you. So, I said I work in graduate admissions, so I answer the phone a lot.
I work in admissions as well.
Yes.
You've probably talked to me on the phone.
Yes. And or I have likely answered an email from you. But I think it's important to keep in mind what is important to you. And I think in knowing kind of like what do you need out of a degree, and also what are you looking for long term. And I know I feel like I'm broken record. I just said that, but it was, again, something that was really attractive about the LOP degree for me and Vanderbilt specifically, given that I would have the name and network of Vanderbilt to leverage upon graduation, and especially in Nashville, where I was actually just talking to Kathleen, our career services
Guru
director.
Yes,
I
call her.
That's a good word for it. Because we were talking about a potential internship that I would have for this summer. And basically what it came down to is she says, yeah, all the places that this hiring company could source for already have Peabody graduates there. So it's silly that these companies should, contract with this workforce when, like, we internally can access the network that we have, which I feel like everywhere I go, I turn around and somebody has a Peabody degree, which is great. So I think all of that to say, it's one of the reasons, again, I really was attracted to the program and really liked it, because it allowed me to kind of almost micro focus for 2 years on what I, wanted to study and learn about, but still would give me a really good runway for takeoff, if you will, upon graduation.
Nice
that metaphor worked really well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Nice.
There you go.
Once again, I agree. And I think you kind of touched on this, but one of the things that really attracted me to the program as well was the fact that there's so many elective courses that you can take. You can almost tailor your degree to some extent with the classes that you choose to take. And another thing is another portion of it that I liked is that you can take classes from other schools. So like if you wanted to take a law school class or a business school class, as long as it gets approved by Professor Levis, you are allowed to take those classes. So it really gives you almost a customizable experience for your graduate degree, and I think it's really important to address as well.
Those are great points. I appreciate it. So I have a couple more questions, but I think maybe what I'll do is open it up to all of our current students. So unless you have something else you want to say right now, maybe we can
Bring in
introduce
Moshe.
Yes.
Moshe, are you on the line?
I'm gonna allow him to talk. Who else? Do you recognize any of these other folks?
Hello.
I don't.
Moshe.
Hey, Moshe.
Just Moshe.
Hi.
Moshe. Welcome. So we have Moshe Cole on the line. He is one of our wonderful second-year students who is in my class that I was just talking about. Moshe,
I'm the terror of the class.
what?
I'm the terror of the class.
No.
I can say something about that because I have taken classes with him.
So Moshe, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then maybe talk about a few things you think would be helpful for these admitted students to hear about as they're thinking about their choices for this next important step in their lives.
Sure, of course. So first, I want to welcome you all to the LOP family. I'm very excited for all of you. And you have to understand that when I say family, I do mean that. This is a very supportive and collaborative program that you're entering into. And I want to congratulate you on choosing this program. And furthermore, I want to invite you to reach out to me personally if you have any questions or anything. I'll do my best to give you a very frank and just upfront opinion of what I think. My email is Moshe MOSHE.P.Cole@vanderbilt.edu. So just a little about me. Before the program, I actually did quite a number of things. My first job out of undergrad was in the utility space, where I worked in basically IT hardware. After that, I did some financial services work at American Express, where I worked in their financial review department, mitigating risk to the company and not necessarily looking for risk for the consumer. So it was really kind of interesting. And then most recently, before I decided to go to grad school, I worked for the state of Tennessee in consumer protection. And I actually applied to and got admitted to Owen in their MBA program. And I spent maybe 3 weeks there. And the first week that I spent there, I was not feeling that the culture was for me, was right. But I said, I'm admitted. Let's just get this done. And I had heard about the LOP program actually after I'd already been admitted to the Owen program, and I went, and kept attending classes and stuff, and it just didn't feel right for me. And so I contacted Rosie at admissions, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with by now, and had a chat with her and kind of let her know where I thought I needed to be as far as where I'd feel comfortable and supported. And she said that sounds like our program. And I let her know kind of what I was interested in. And I said, I'd really love to be a consultant. I don't know if this is something that you guys, your grads go into. She said, oh yeah, we got a lot of those. And so I decided to try to get admitted into the LOP program, and spoke with Rosie and then Susan, and they kind of saw my transcripts, and all that stuff got transferred over, and I said, yeah, I guess we'll slip you under the radar. I don't know how they let me in, but they let me in. But anyways, so I had a fantastic summer internship at InfoWorks, which translated into a full-time position. So I'm currently a business consultant at a local firm called InfoWorks, and I'm working on a very large client with over 200,000 employees, and it's really, really awesome. And I just think that the program is an amazing program, not only from the standpoint of the curriculum to the professors, but also that it's iterative in nature and it keeps evolving, which I think is very unique in the education, the higher education world. So that's it for me.
Moshe, that was awesome. Thank you. And you teed up one of the questions that I had for the group, which was I would love to hear you all talk about internship as well as maybe other kinds of on-campus or off-campus opportunities and how you find those. So we've got two people going through the process right now of securing an internship. And then, of course, you just heard from Moshe. He did his internship last summer, and it led right into this position, which is something we often hear. Yeah. You guys want to take it away?
Your turn to go first.
I'm currently in the process of applying to various internships. I am applying to 2 positions right now with Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. Just waiting to kind of submit my applications and hear back from them. As of right now, that's where I'm at in that process. What I will address, because I kind of field these questions commonly as somebody who works in admissions, is graduate assistantships. A lot of newly admitted students feel really pressured to find those graduate assistantships right away and almost have them lined up before they accept their offer for admission. And I would say that that's certainly one avenue that you can definitely explore. But once you've accepted your offer for admission, like Moshe said, you're going to start receiving emails from Rosie Moody because she's amazing and she's always looking out for us. I found my assistantships, which are student ambassador in graduate admissions, and then I'm also a TA for Professor Douglas, and I found both of those through Rosie, sent out quick emails, and that's how I got those internships, or assistantships, I should say. And so I would say typically a lot of those openings come up late summer to early fall semester. So if you don't have something lined up right away, I would not stress over it. And I certainly wouldn't make commitment decisions based on not having one.
Yeah. I mean, I was the opposite, where I, like everyone that popped up on the admitted student job board, I was like, I will apply for this, and then I will apply for this. And I had a very confirmed assistantship prior to joining campus, and it worked out great for me, and I love it, and I work with fabulous people. But honestly, when all of us say don't worry about finding on campus work, like, we're always getting opportunities, and I recognize it's definitely nerve-wracking coming to a new city, and there's expenses to think about, and lots of different things. But truly, 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 there are so many opportunities, both on campus and off campus, that come about, and nearly everyone who is seeking on-campus employment in some way always finds a role. So I would echo everything that Tyler said. So for my own internship experience or application process, I've actually been offered one already for the summer, which is still the way the organization works. It's still kind of TBD, but I've been selected as a finalist is what they've told me. Yeah, which is great. So, but the important thing I think to think about for internships in particular, and one of the pools that I'm still in, was actually a direct result of the interview relay that we had a couple weeks ago. So I mentioned Kathleen Rawl, who is the LOP program's career service advisor, I can't say enough good things about her.
She's amazing.
She's fantastic. So her and then Jeff work kind of tag team to cover all professional students in Peabody, which I also think is something that I found unique when I was deciding between Vanderbilt and then the other schools that I got in, was that they're like Peabody professional students have their own career services. Like it's not under an umbrella of somebody else. It's 2 people who are just specifically like wired for the graduate students at Peabody, which is unique. It's something I found very unique.
It's a great resource.
Yeah, and they've been a phenomenal resource for me. So one of the pools that I'm still in was just a direct result of the interview relay that we had. And at every step of my internship process, I've literally just run across, because we work across the hall from Kathleen, and I've just run across and said, hey, what do you think about this? And
Right.
she's been so generous with just sitting down with us and, you know, talking about different options and whatnot. But so when I say the Vanderbilt network is, and all the people who are at the relay were graduates of either our program or Vanderbilt. So there's definitely just such a large network to leverage. And very similar to Moshe, many of the roles become full-time afterwards. So
Thank you. And so Moshe, I want to get to you, but let me just say a couple words about the interview relay first, just so everyone knows what that is. It's, you know, you'll hear more about it, especially if you come to our welcome weekend, but there's also information on the website from the Career Center. But, you know, Kathleen and Jeff do an amazing job of walking our students through preparing their resumes, pairing up with peer career mentors right when they get here, having individual meetings with them, listening a little bit to, you know, what is it you're interested in, and then immediately connecting you with alumni so you can start learning more about some of those possibilities and building your network, something that Moshe knows a lot about. So the interview relay is sort of a highlight of that process in the first year. It usually happens in January or February, and students have the opportunity to get some real life practice interviewing for positions and feedback, which is awesome. So a lot of our alumni and community members do it just because they want to contribute, but many of them are actually there looking for people to be internships. So I know that that's something that can be really helpful. So Moshe, what would you add to the, you know, student understanding of the internship process? Could you talk a little bit about how you found it to be when you were going through that process of looking for and securing an internship, and then, you know, how that influenced your understanding of the kind of content and knowledge and skills that you've been learning in this program?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm not going to lie, the internship struggle as far as finding one. You know, you have to understand that there are other, you know, very highly qualified candidates from other respected, you know, elite institutions that are vying for these same spots. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. And you have to be prepared to put in the work to find, you know, the internship that you want. But we have resources like Kathleen, who's always there to help, or if you're feeling overwhelmed, you know, you can just walk in her office and just, you know, spill your heart out, and she's okay with that. Which goes back to my point of the, you know, very supportive, you know, community that that we've built. So it's difficult, but it's obviously doable because we all get internships. So it's just something that you have to keep in mind. It's not going to be, you know, it's not going to be as easy as you might think it is. However, I obviously landed a fantastic internship, and one of the things that set me up for success during my internship was something called the internship journal, which some alum made. It was Kenrick Lull and Micah. What's Micah's last name? Gentry. Yes. So they made this document, and basically it's kind of a guided journal through your internship experience, and it prompts you with questions and ideas. And I used that throughout my internship, and that was incredibly valuable. And I think that is part of the reason why I was offered a position, because after my internship, I was able to compile all of that, you know, that knowledge, which I probably journaled only, you know, 10, 15 minutes a day, but that compilation over, you know, months, I realized, hey, I not only did I do a lot, but all of these things that I'm learning that are these LOP competencies, I'm applying. And so I was able to very easily put that together, you know, basically my program and the internship and what I brought to the table. I was able to tie all those pieces together and make a case that, hey, I added value while I was here, so you should probably keep me around. And they did. But I wouldn't have been able to do that as easily without, you know, the resources that I was provided. So, and that is thanks to my alum, right? And also Susan had a hand in that as well. So, you know, big thank you to her also.
Oh, thanks, Moshe. And what was exciting, and that's, I think, a great example of what you were talking about earlier about, you know, we're constantly looking at how can we improve, how can we develop new tools and supports for our students. And that was one of them that we fielded for the first time last year. And I'm still getting feedback from those students who used it. And we've already rolled out the first draft to our students for the upcoming summer. So thanks, Moshe. What I'd like to do now is I can see that we have our alumni on the phone. So would you go ahead and give the mic to Allison Thompson, if you don't mind? Thank you. And I'm going to see if I can switch the slide. There we go. So Moshe, thank you. I'm going to turn things over now to two of our wonderful alumni, Allison Thompson and Katie Zimmerman. They just graduated in May, and they're amazing people. I just got to see Allie at an event at Vanderbilt last week. Without any further ado, I'd love to turn it over to both of you and maybe just introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about some things that you think might be helpful for students to hear, or rather, you know, admitted students that we hope will choose to come join our LOP family, as Moshe put it so well.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us, Susan. I'm here, Allie Thompson, and Katie is also here. Hi. And we are so fortunate because we get, not only were we in school together in the same class, but we get to work with each other every day, which is pretty amazing and also awesome because we get to, I don't know, collaborate and work together and use our LOP concepts. So yeah, a little bit about myself is that I was actually looking at MBA programs before I found the LOP program. And I was an undergrad, I majored in business management, and I kind of realized that I already knew a lot of like the business concepts and stuff. So this program incorporated my overall mission statement of like making the business world a kinder place. And which is ultimately why I chose it, because I think it gives you a more holistic perspective of multiple aspects of businesses and different types of businesses, from nonprofit to for-profit and from small to large. Yeah, so that's the ultimate reason why, one of the ultimate reasons why I chose it. And because Vanderbilt's an incredible university. I'm going to let Katie talk a little bit about why she chose LOP.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is Katie. And I also graduated from LOP in 2018. I went to Vanderbilt for undergrad as well and just rolled straight into the grad program. And I really love organizations and love trying to understand how they work, especially nonprofits. I'd gotten to work and volunteer and intern at a bunch of different nonprofits along the way. And there were some that were functioning really well and were super healthy. And then there were some that just had wonderful ideas and great hearts, and it just made me so sad that they weren't having I felt like they could have a bigger impact than they were having right then. And I kind of just wanted to understand that better. And yeah, I loved LOP. I think that it really, really well prepared me for this job that we have right now. Yeah, and I think that it does a really good job of teaching the business skills and then the people side of things, and really prepared me well really well for the ambiguity that this job
Yeah.
holds.
I was going to add that, like, one of the best things about LOP is that you're able to go into like a really ambiguous situation and really draw on the skills that you've learned from your class and coursework and classmates and figure out how to tackle those projects. So I'm forever thankful for that.
Yeah.
And I think it really gives you a unique selling point when you're looking for a job. Like, that's pretty incredible because not a lot of people can do that.
And one thing that I learned a lot was I felt like in undergrad, anytime that I was put on a group project, it was kind of a bummer because it would often, it'd be a lot of work to kind of get everybody on the same page. And at the end of the day, it kind of felt like something that I could have probably made on my own with less time and effort. But in LOP, that really changed for me because there were all of these really dynamic people from all sorts of areas of life. And when I looked at the final product, it involved a lot of things that I just did not feel as proficient at as my peers. But I also got to contribute a lot too. So it was neat to be on those diverse teams. And I think that that's something that also is translated really well, at least into where Allie and I are. And I'm sure a lot of our other peers, it's just really helpful to have a whole different view of how to approach projects and like work in general.
Yeah. One of my favorite group projects I actually did with Katie. And it's crazy because like people always are like, I don't like group project, blah, blah, blah. And I love group projects, especially after doing LOP. And I think one of the most unique things about grad school is that like you're all there because you're all passionate about like similar things. And it's such a small cohort that you can really thrive off of each other. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you added that. That's such a great point. We deliberately keep our program on the small side because we think that that personal learning experience is so important. So, Allie and Katie, you are two of my favorite people.
Yes, we very much love you.
One thing I mentioned before you got on the phone, or the Zoom, whatever one calls it, was the Corbett has gotten us all to be using this term micro internships, and it's all of the projects that we do in the classes where we're partnering you with real live organizations as you're learning material and then you're applying it. Could you talk a little bit about that so the students can understand, or the listeners can understand that better?
I have to say, for me, that was a game changer because I came right out of undergrad and went into grad school. And then as I was applying for jobs, it made a world of difference to have been able to be on all those different projects because they are very real world. Basically, each class, you'll learn concepts along the way, and it's very much hands-on learning. And then pretty much every class in the program will end with some form of a project with an actual organization in the community. Sometimes you're connected to them. Sometimes it's just someone you met along the way or a family friend or whoever it is. But basically, you just walk into these organizations and either it's kind of an already formed project and they'll tell you what they need, or you'll kind of pitch, here's what we're learning in this class. Do you think that sounds helpful to you? Is there any way that we can get involved with you and, I don't know, make that system more efficient or anything? And I have to say, on the flip side, like I said, it was amazing to walk into interviews because I think in some ways it was a disadvantage to, have not had prior full-time work experience. And I had, worked throughout the summers and worked during school, but it was amazing to be able to just pull out example after example of a time that a project went well, a time it went poorly, a time it really morphed. And I think it was really impressive, it seemed, in interviews to be able to have so many different examples. So that is probably one of the most valuable parts of the experience, at least for me.
Yeah, for sure. And what's amazing is like when I was like working on my consulting resume or whatever, more often than not, most of my projects that I listed on there were from LOP or from grad school. And you learn all of these great principles and like strategic ways to approach situations and how to like have those difficult conversations with team members and with the clients. And it really just like carries over. So I took a couple of courses outside of Peabody, and they also had like, we also had projects that were with real organizations. And it was great to be able to like apply those LOP principles outside of LOP. And more often than not, people are just like, oh my gosh, wait, what, a school of education person like knows all about this? And it was kind of refreshing, and, you know, kind of gave myself a little pat on the back and the LOP program, because it really does, it's like a holistic approach to like consulting and those micro internships or whatever.
Moshe and I are actually on a micro internship together in this semester, so it's alive and well.
Right,
in the LOP
right.
world.
Right. Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. I think, you know, it's probably a new concept to some, and being able to hear about your experiences is helpful. Allie, you just made me think of one last thing that I want to throw in the mix. That's just a resource at Vanderbilt that our students benefit from so much, and that's the Turner Family Center. And you participated in the Pyramid Project in your last year. We actually have a first year and a second year both participating this year as well. Could you just take a minute and let our listeners know what that is?
Yes. So the Turner Family Center is actually housed over in Owen, which is the business school at Vanderbilt. And the purpose of the Turner Family Center is to focus on alleviating poverty. And the one way that they primarily focus on is through social enterprises. So running like a nonprofit, but with a for-profit methodology or finances. So examples of like social enterprises would be like Tom's Shoes, even though it's not probably not the best example, but everybody knows it. Or Warby Parker is another great example. So every spring, the Turner Family Center puts on or has a class called Project Pyramid, and you have to apply for it. And I was selected to do it along with another classmate, Erin. And basically, you learn all the consulting skills that you learn in LOP, but like at a faster pace. And you're partnered with a company that's attempting to be a social enterprise, or just like needs help around something in their social enterprise. So I was partnered, my team and I, we were partnered with a nonprofit organization in Guatemala that was trying to become more of a social enterprise. And what was really, really cool is that everybody was partnered with an organization that was in a different country. And they actually, the Turner Family Center pays for you to go over your spring break to that country to work hands-on with the company. And it was just a life-changing event, because I was really able to apply my LOP concepts that I've learned and work really outside of my comfort zone, you know, like in the US. And it was just like, it combined everything that I was passionate about. So I don't know, is there anything else I should hit on, Susan?
No, I think that's great. I mean, it's just such a nice example of the wealth of opportunities that our students can gain access to here at Vanderbilt. And it's just, I think for anyone who's interested in entrepreneurship or social enterprises, it's a really nice resource to know about. So thank you to both of you. And I have one last question for the group. And feel free to share anything if you have thoughts beyond that. But maybe I'll start with our online folks first, Moshe and Allie and Katie. What's one thing that you wish you had known to be better prepared before you came on campus?
Moshe, we're going to let you go first.
Is my mic on? Can everyone hear me?
Yes. We've got you.
So, because Owen started prior to Peabody, I got like the orientation at Owen, and then I started classes at Owen, and then I came over to Peabody, but I came like right in the nick of time to join the LOP program, but I missed our orientation, and so for me, I didn't know where the heck anything was the first probably month or so. So make sure that you catch the orientation.
Nicely done. Thank you, Moshe.
Okay, I'll say for me, I think one thing that I continued to learn more and more throughout the program was how wonderful it really was to meet with the professors. And I'm not just saying that because Susan's here. But I think that in undergrad, I was told that over and over that the professors wanted to meet with you, and I just never really took them up on that. And then in grad school, I felt like I needed to, and also I really enjoyed being with them, and I just think that they have so much to offer. And it's been neat to seeing how that's continued even after grad school. So Susan was our reference for this job, I think for both Allie and me. And then the other day we were at an event downtown for women in business, and Corbett was speaking down there. And it's just neat to, they're so willing to talk with you about class, about not class, about anything while you're there. And then those are relationships that can continue even afterwards. So I would say the quicker anyone can learn that, the better.
I feel like I have lots of pieces of advice that I would give myself. So I took about 4.5, 5-year break between undergrad and graduate school, and I'm so glad I did it. I felt like I was a better student later, like when I got back to grad school. But I mean, it's a big transition time, and I think that I wish I had given myself that perspective that like it's okay that it's hard. You like, you know, you can. Yeah, I don't know how to even put it. But also, yeah, taking advantage, like what Susan said, taking advantage of all the resources that aren't necessarily at Peabody. Like Vanderbilt has just a wealth of resources that you can use. And I think people forget about that a lot. So that's something I wish I had been more proactive about my first year, especially. And also, I just, my little tidbit of wisdom, I guess, is that you're like the cohort that you're in and the cohort above you or whatever, and the alumni, it is such a unique experience. You only have like 2 years or so with these people where you're working like exclusively. I mean, Katie and I get to work together now. So I guess it's, you know, but take advantage of like all like their brains and who they are. And everybody like provides such unique perspective to the, like what they bring to the table. And when else are you going to have that? And when else are you going to have the access to those professors basically whenever you want? So those are the things I think that.
What wonderful perspectives. I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate all of your time, Moshe and Allie and Katie. Thank you so much for contributing. It's really meant a lot. And I know that our listeners have learned a lot. Do you two have anything else you would want to add?
I think one thing that I would say, I think to myself, like pretty much a year ago, essentially is where we were now, is that I think it's really important to remember that like you drive the learning and you're in charge of making the choice of the meaning that you get from that. When Susan said earlier, like there's classes that it's very much a healthy balance of theory and micro internship classes basically are the two kinds of classes that we have. That's accurate, and both are important for different reasons and for different needs that you, I think, as a professional and as a student, I think you need both of those things. But like at the end of the day, I'm a student and I'm in charge of like getting meaning and driving the learning that I need for my own professional goals. So that's what I would say.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just kind of going to reiterate the same idea. This program is a great opportunity for personal and professional development, and there's a lot that you can get out of it, but you get out of it what you put into it. So when you come to this program, I definitely recommend that you kind of immerse yourself in the experience. It's 2 years. It's not very long. and it has a lot that you can take away from it. Just put in the effort, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised and happy with what you find.
Nice, thank you, thank you. So with that, why don't we turn it over to our listeners? If anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. And just, we really look forward to welcoming you in August to our LOP family. We hope you come. May not be any questions.
We'll give them some time.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes a second to do it.
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
Right. Yeah, well, I think we've still got, all of our folks on the line as well. So.
Welcome weekend, March 22nd, 23rd.
Right.
Come hang out with us. Oh, there's a slide for it.
There's a slide for it.
There's a slide.
Yeah, so if you can make it, we really look forward to being able to see you in March, coming to Welcome Weekend. If you can't, that's certainly okay. But it is a great time to go ahead and get to start knowing people and what the resources are. And then just a reminder about the decision deadline for April 15th. So it looks like we do have a question from Damisi. Thank you. Is there anything you didn't get out of the program that you wanted to? So I'll turn that over to our current students or alumni. Is there anything that you didn't get out of the program that you wish you had?
I feel like it's too early for that. 'Cause we're a semester.
3 semesters to go.
Yeah. Right. Some change still left. So.
How about those folks on the line, Moshe or Allie or Katie? I hear thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking hard over here, and I mean, I think that there's always room for improvement in any program, but I'm really having a hard time thinking of anything in this category.
I think it's harder for us because Susan came on at our second year. So there was like a bit of transition from like the old director to the new director, which makes it, I feel like, a little bit more difficult. So we were able to give a lot of feedback, and Susan has been so great about incorporating the feedback and really listening to us. Yeah.
Yeah, one change that has happened since you were here is we've modified our second course in strategy and analytics, so it has much more of a focus on some emerging tools like Tableau. You guys are in that class right now, aren't you?
Right.
Yep. Very heavily data analytics oriented.
Yeah. Moshe, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think that the data analysis stuff would have been great in SNA 2, and of course there's a different instructor now. But that's kind of what I alluded to as far as the iterative nature of the program. So we got this different instructor based on feedback from my class. So my cohort gave feedback, and very quickly a new instructor was installed that had that skill set. Now, with that said, I've taken classes like data analysis and research design, strategic workforce planning, data analysis and research design 2, to supplement kind of that gap that I previously saw. But the program moved very quickly to take that feedback, which I think is pretty excellent. So yeah, I don't think there's much that I would add really. So it's a pretty robust, pretty well-rounded, and I think it prepares either a someone who has a lot of experience like myself, or someone who's kind of fresh off the boat, if you will, coming from undergrad. It prepares each student for the workforce and for the skill sets that are needed and are in demand. And I think that is unique in our program.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, and there's, we're not going to cover everything, that's for sure, in the 2-year program. And that's the nice part about having all of the electives. And we built that in purposefully, so you can really add to those areas of interest. So we look like we're about at the hour. If anyone has any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You have our information in your admission letter. You can go on the website and get in touch. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moshe, Allie, and Katie, and Liza and Tyler, I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.